Alright guys, alright. We're back again after that laughter, right? Alright, so who is this published by? Who is the author of this? Published Sunday, August 28th, 2022 at 6 a.m. Let's see, I guess the guy's name is Chris Fox from CP24.com, managing digital producer. And, and here you go, you can see this is why this article is very important, right? Because when it comes to investment and all that thing, them article are very important, right? Because not just crypto, as an investor, you need to learn how to diversify your portfolio. So not just invest in a crypto and stock, but also invest in a people, also invest in a land, and invest in a other things too as well, not just digital assets. All right. So Ontario's population could grow by more than 6 million over the next 2 decades. Will we have the infrastructure to accommodate the boom? I saw this for a long time. This was gonna happen, and it is gonna happen. And what's gonna happen to places or cities like Sudbury and places going up into the northern area of Ontario? People be forced to spread out. People are gonna be forced to spread out. A lot of people who like the convenience of living in the city or even close to the big city are gonna be forced to move up because population growth. And the land them that are in northern Ontario and other parts of Canada, that is basically promised growth. All these lands that are there right now that are cheap, you can literally go drop a few $1,000s and get an acre. That acre is gonna be a couple $100,000 in the next decade. So hence why I say, it's not just digital asset, it's also physical asset. It's also what you can see, the people around you. Invest is important. Ontario's population could increase by, let me zoom in and see if I can enlarge this. I can't enlarge it. Wow. Small writing without the glasses. So Ontario's population could increase by as much as 6 million over the next 2 decades, and some experts are warning that government need to start playing catch up and building the necessary infrastructure to accommodate that sort of influx because it is too late. Before it's too late. New projections released by Statistics Canada this week suggest that Ontario's population will grow from 14.8 million to approximately 19 million by 2043. And this is just speculation. It can be earlier than that in a medium growth scenario, and could even surpass 21 million in a higher growth scenario. See, them just speculate. It is a good news story for the region's economy prospects and vitality. Most experts agree, but it undoubtedly pose a challenge for the Golden Horseshoe region, which is already struggling with housing crisis and crippling gridlock. This is just to force people to migrate. Population growth is really good and really important for the province. It helps fuel economic growth, it reunites family, and it is great for the culture and the dynamism of our communities. But it also will continue to put pressure on our infrastructures, which is already stretched. Matt Semietzi, a professor, I brutalized that last name, a professor and the director of the Infrastructure Institute at the University of Toronto, told CP24.com this week. Infrastructure takes long-term planning, and it is not something you can just flip a switch on. While there was a trend of people leaving the Greater Toronto area for less expensive market elsewhere in Canada during the pandemic, the new projections point to a rate of population growth in Canada which will exceed every province other than Alberta and British Columbia. Most of that increase will be driven by immigration, continuing a long-standing trend in Canada. But the projections also point to an aging population, which could put additional pressure on things like healthcare and long-term care systems, especially with citizenship. You could when you apply for citizenship back in the day, like maybe like 7 years ago, you could get that in 6 months for like nothing, for hundreds of dollars, maybe like $200 something like that. Now you're looking at over a year to get that citizenship to come in to the mail because of the population growth, and it's only going to get worse. Look at in America, and in America I think it takes like what, 5 years. Wow. Okay, so in Ontario case statistics Canada says that the number of people over the age of 85 could rise from approximately 345,000 in 2021 to as much as 921,000 by 2043 in the medium growth. And this is just scenario. This is just speculation. Quote, "We're definitely playing catch up because our systems are stretched at the moment. Housing is becoming increasingly unaffordable. You see our healthcare system struggling under the weight of the pandemic, and then you see everything else. You know, when there are heavy rains, our sewer system can't accommodate them. We are having power outages, our cell phone services are vulnerable. So we are seeing what it is like when infrastructure creaks, the author warned, with more people that will put even more pressure on the system and require us to be really strategic about which infrastructure we choose, how we build it out, and then making sure it can handle the stresses it is going to face as our community grows. The government hopes to build 1.5 million homes by 2031. The Ford government was vowed to tackle the housing crisis by building 1.5 million new homes over the next decade. However, a report released by the Smart Prosperity Institution at the University of Ottawa early this month warned that the province is unlikely to reach that goal. Speaking with CP24.com, the author stressed that population growth is still very positive at the end of the day, as it seems that the people are choosing Ontario and the GTA as a place that they want to come and set up their new life, in many cases starting businesses and contributing to further economic growth. But Stacey Evoy, who is the president of Ontario Real Estate Association, said the projections are scary given the shortage of homes, which has inflated price and forced many young people to abandon the communities they grew up in. A survey released by Royal LePage last week, in fact, showed that only 22% of GTA millennials who still harbor dreams of home ownership intend to purchase property in the communities. They, of course, people can't afford it. You know how high the price is. This release with these new numbers should be shouting to everyone that we are still not doing enough, and really the dream of home ownership is on life support in Ontario. Evoy told CP24.com this week. Even if these projections are high and we see the influx on the low side, about 2.1 million people migrate to Ontario, I think that is of concern. We can't even address the housing supply and the challenges that we are having at the current population level, let alone this huge influx over the next 2 decades. Evoy, who works as a real estate broker in the London area, told CP24.com that she routinely sees people forced to move away due to the cost of housing in Ontario, leaving their families and support networks behind. She said that she would like to see governments work together to find ways to and density in some residential neighborhoods ahead of coming population boom, including changes in zoning regulations that would remove some of the red tape around building family multifamily homes like duplexes and triplexes. The consequences of not doing so, she warned, could be dire. Rising interest rate might be masking the problem as prices dip, but we are still in a affordability and housing supply crisis, she said. Of course, 10 different scenarios. And then we've done this article. It's a long article. The Statistic Canada projections include 10 different scenarios based on the different immigration levels, life expectancy rates, and fertility rates. While there is considerably deviation among the different scenarios, all of them point to continued population growth in Ontario over the next 2 decades. Canada's population as a whole is also expected to grow, rising from 38 million. Can you believe this big old country only have 38 million people in 2021 to 56 million in 2068. By them time, these are all speculations in a way. All of this could happen in the next 10 years under a medium growth scenario. As it says, under a medium growth scenario. So these are just speculation. And as I said, these numbers can get up to even surpass 56 million by 2030. And these people are going to know where am I go with them 2068. Anyway, at the moment, we are really at a crossroads in terms of how our urban regions are going to grow. The author told CP24.com, we are in a housing crisis and there is an urgent need to build more units, but what from? What form and where those are located is going to tell a lot of the story about the unlivability of our cities for years to come. No shiz, you guys are chasing, Toronto is basically chasing the New York dream. For a 1-bedroom apartment in New York right now is $3,500. 35. It's ridiculous. If we can find ways to intensify and do that while maintaining quality of life, that will be a huge advantage for our cities. But if we continue to press forwards at the edge of our regions, eating into our prime farmlands, into our natural habitat, onto floodplains and marshlands, that is going to be a pattern of growth that is the climate change is going to be challenging. And you know what? Toronto is not used to the growth. Ontario in general, Canada overall, is not used to the growth that we're seeing right now. They're not used to it. All this new money that's coming in, them don't know what them do. Them head a blow up. So I think what's going to happen. This bubble has been spoken for about 20 years now, that this bubble is going to just get bigger and bigger and bigger and just end up bust. But what I think is going on right now, I think the bubble, I don't know, certain things like COVID and cryptocurrency and what else, other things, other economical points are basically poking holes into this big old balloon that's been blowing up for the past 40 years, right? And it's only gonna get bigger and bigger, and the holes in the balloon symbolizes the people that are being pushed, that are being forced out to basically live elsewhere, or what you rather spend 3 hours in traffic trying to get to a 20-minute destination where you can go live elsewhere and have a nice, long, healthy life, not hearing fire alarm, fire truck and police truck and crime and violence everywhere. You sit on your big land. When you want to come into the city, you just drive into the city, rent an Airbnb because you can't afford it in this city that's inflated and blown up like crazy. But anyway, that's it. Later.